What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC. Today we're going to be revealing the Going Gear EDC Club Premium subscription for February of 2025. Now this video is a little bit late, and that's because for the second month in a row, Going Gear was a little bit late to ship these out. So hopefully we'll see them get that back on track sooner rather than later. Now, for those that aren't familiar with the Going Gear EDC Club, they do offer two tiers to their subscription. The standard tier is $60 a month plus shipping. For that, you're going to get 2 to 5 EDC items each month. If you opt for the premium, that one's $200 a month plus shipping, and you'll get everything that comes in the standard plus at least one additional, what they consider to be premium EDC item. With that said, let's dive in and see what they sent for February. We'll start with the standard as usual, go from lowest list price to highest before moving on to the premium. So up first this month in our standard is the Civivi lanyard with brass bead. Now, the letter states that it's a WE knife lanyard with brass bead. For those that don't know, WE knife is the sister company of Civivi. WE is a more premium brand, Civivi the more budget line. And so I'd imagine what's happening here is that some people are getting a WE bead, some people are getting a Civivi bead, and they just didn't label it that clearly. Not the end of the world. We still get a brass bead with a pre-tied lanyard, which I actually really enjoy because I am able to recreate this type of lanyard by watching YouTube videos, pausing along the way. I don't have it committed to memory. It takes some time. And so I definitely prefer one that's just pre-tied. You just thread the bead through the lanyard, thread this portion of the lanyard through your lanyard hole, and then tuck the rest of the lanyard through that opening. And it's a really simple knot that you can tie. You don't have to know anything complex. You can have it mounted in a matter of seconds. So I like seeing stuff like this. Value-wise, we're talking $12.95. Not the most exciting item, but honestly, it's just a throw-in anyway. We typically see that in the standard box when we get a really high value item in it. So this is a 2-item month for our standard, but we do get a really high value item as our premium or our primary item, and that's the Bestech Dundee. This particular version is a Going Gear exclusive, which they're calling the Crocodile Dundee for obvious reasons. You can see it replicates the armored scales that you see along the spine of a crocodile going across our G10 scales. And I'm a huge fan of that because I'm not particularly a fan of G10. I don't hate it or anything, but it's a little bit of a boring looking material. So I like seeing companies dress it up in ways that make it more appealing, and I find this to be a lot more appealing than what would otherwise be a plain G10 scale. So great looking design on this knife as well, not just the scales, but overall on the design, kind of that slim, stabby, pokey style of knife, designed by Ostap Hell, which we've seen on the channel before. In fact, I probably have 5 or 6 of his knives at this point. All of them have come from Going Gear, ironically enough. It's not like I'm seeking them out, but seems like whoever curates these Going Gear boxes is a big fan of his designs, and I have no issue with that because I've also really enjoyed all of the versions that they've included. They've been from different brands, they've been from different styles. I think we got a concept most recently that was a Kiridashi style knife, and so this is very different than a Kiridashi. So like that he has what seems like a versatile style. They're all well thought out. Function comes first, and overall great design so far from him, so definitely don't mind seeing that. Got the reversible pocket clip. This knife is on the longer side too. I haven't measured it and it doesn't say in the letters, so I'll make sure to include that in the dedicated video for this, but I would imagine about 8 inches or so with a 3.5-inch blade. Now that's another area where it gets really interesting. It weighs less than 3 ounces, but the price point on this exclusive is listed at $94.95, and if you are familiar with the Dundee, you know that seems pretty high. You can get the standard version of the Dundee for sub $50, and the reason for that isn't these crocodile scales, it's actually the blade steel. The standard version comes with D2. If you look right here near these scales, this one is stamped with M-Cut, and so if you've never heard of M-Cut, that's not surprising. It seems to be somewhat new, a steel that Bestech is using, but in the letter, Going Gear states that it's a stone-washed MagnaCut blade. If you look at the branding on the box, M-Cut, on the steel itself, M-Cut, on the website for Bestech or Bestech M-Cut, any of their social media posts. And so what's going on here? Other retailers also list other Bestech knives with M-Cut as MagnaCut, and so it almost seems like Bestech is a Chinese-made company. Maybe they recreated MagnaCut with the same properties and composition and are advertising it as M-Cut to take advantage of that MagnaCut name, but not exactly what happened. It's actually pretty interesting. So full credit to Dom over at Max Level EDC for doing this research. I don't know if he's put it in a video yet. I know he got a Bestech knife that also had M-Cut, and so he actually did all the research to figure out what was going on. He reached out to Crucible, who makes MagnaCut, he also reached out to Bestech. And what actually happened was Crucible will not sell MagnaCut to non-American companies, which is why you don't see MagnaCut on Chinese-made knives. But Bestech bought a lot of MagnaCut from a company in America, third-party company that wasn't Crucible, and is utilizing that still. So this is actually American-made MagnaCut. Now, because they didn't buy it directly from Crucible, they're not allowed to advertise it as MagnaCut, which is why all of their branding is always going to state MCut. But you are getting American-made MagnaCut at that price point, sub $100, which is incredible. I think the one that Max Level EDC got was actually an $80 knife. So if you're looking to try out MagnaCut, maybe you've stayed away because of the price point, this is a really great opportunity to get it at a super affordable price. $94.95 is a great price for MagnaCut. So really cool to see, and I thought that was super interesting. Now this one is a flipper, and really great action on it. It's got a perfect detent for it, super snappy, smooth action. It also has this fuller. I'm not sure if that's intended to be utilized as a deployment method. I haven't been able to flick it out. Maybe my nails are too short, or maybe the detent's just a little bit too strong, but I have not been able to middle finger flick it. I would imagine though, once this breaks in, I will be. I'm not going to adjust the detent because I like where it's at for the flipper. So I'm going to leave it as is, but I would imagine, I wouldn't be surprised if once it breaks in, I will be able to middle finger flick this. But either way, super cool design. And another thing that Going Gear does with some of these exclusives is include an exclusive sticker. And so I like seeing that as well. This time we got the crocodile wearing the Crocodile Dundee hat with the Going Gear logo on it, and then carrying the Dundee in his hand. So just a really cool sticker, nice touch, not adding to the cost of the box at all, but really enjoy seeing stuff like that. Now that rounds out our standard box. Only 2 items this month, but you get a value of $107.90. So that well exceeds the threshold that I'm usually targeting to see great value in these boxes, which is 150%. So that's about $18 over 150% even. So really good value out of our standard. Obviously that's all predicated on whether or not you like the knife, which I really like this knife so far. Obviously need to spend some more time with it, but first impressions are great on it. So love seeing that. And I think being an exclusive adds a little bit to that. I would imagine that they'll actually have some of these for sale on the website. They usually do, just kind of a overrun whatever they didn't include in the EDC club, but you'll end up having to pay that full $94.95. And so we paid $60 for it, saving $35 off of it, which is a really great value. And so for our premium this month, only 1 item. That's pretty typical, and honestly what I prefer. Sometimes you'll see 2 or 3 items, but that means each of the items is going to be a little bit lower in value. I'd rather them spend that entire budget on 1 premium item, which is what they did again this month and what they usually do. So for our premium this month, we get the Giant Mouse GMF2 PR, and hard time picking it up. Camera has hard time picking up black in this lighting for whatever reason, but we get this nice black leather sheath with the Giant Mouse logo, and they are handmade in Italy as well, which is great to see. And the knife itself is also super slick, valued at $235. They come with this red G10, and I know I just mentioned I'm not a huge fan of plain G10. This red color is an exception. I think this is my 2nd or 3rd knife with it. I definitely have at least 1 other one. I may have 3 though, and I absolutely love this color of G10. It just looks great on all of the knives I've seen it with, and also looks really great with the black PVD coating that we get. And so if we take a look at the pommel or the handle here, we have made in Italy N690 on our steel. It's PVD coated, and that PVD coating has been slightly stonewashed, and so you get that great black wash look to it. I'm a huge fan of that as well. And ironically enough, when you set these down next to each other, they have an almost identical profile, identical sizing, so you get a folding version and a fixed blade. Obviously they're different brands. One's made in Italy, one's made in China, different steels, all of that, but very similar profile. Now the Giant Mouse does have a little bit more of a comfortable grip because it doesn't have to contend with a pocket clip, first of all, but also it's just a little bit thicker and a little bit better contouring, and so it fills out the hand really nicely. Both are very comfortable, both very similar in size. Again, I would imagine probably 8 inches to maybe 8¼ inches at most, so medium to large size knife, but not too large. I would imagine this one would make a great pocket carry as well if I get a custom sheath made for it. I think a just nice taco style kydex that's very minimal would make this a great pocket dropper, even though it's a little bit on the longer side than my typical pocket fixed blades that I like. Now again, similar profile on here, so we got that kind of slim pokey stabby type profile, but nice great edge on here, and again made in Italy. It does have some jimping up here. It feels like it could go a little bit further back. I like the placement actually with it this far forward. It's ultra grabby, nice if you want to get a little bit of pressure behind that blade, but some people do prefer the more kind of relaxed, further back grip, and so it would be nice if that just extended longer. The jimping itself is really nice. Now, they value this one at $235, which is again more than we pay for the entire premium box. $200 box. When you account for the standard items that also come with it, that brings the value up to $342.90. Again, well over the 150% threshold. 342 is $42.90 over that threshold. And so as long as you like the items, obviously it's predicated on whether or not you like the items. As long as you like the items, the excellent value this month, and I'm a big fan of them. The one thing is that they're very similar. So obviously you get a fixed and a foldy, but so similar that if you don't like one, you're unlikely to like the other. So it can be a little bit hit or miss. For me personally, I think this month is a big hit. Really happy with it. Would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments though. If it's not your thing, obviously that's fine too. And last thing I'll note is I do really want to see them get back on track. I'm not really that worried about when it shows up. They always show up. They're very good about it, and they get them out, and they're always a really great value. It's one of my favorite subscriptions because of that. But a lot of times they charge you around the 21st or 22nd of the month, and this one arrived on March 3rd. So I got charged for the March box on February, I think 22nd, and then March 3rd we're getting the February box, and so we got charged for the March box 2 weeks before or I guess 10 or 11 days before the February box even arrived. And so would definitely like to see that kind of be a little bit more consistent. It's not the end of the world, but the optics are pretty bad, especially someone just signing up for a subscription. I've had multiple people comment stuff like that, like I signed up for the subscription and then I got charged for the next one before I even received my first box, and so not the greatest look. Would love to see them clean that up, but overall I think they do a great job in actually filling these boxes, and the contents of them I always really enjoy. So that's, I guess, what's important, but did want to kind of point that out. I always like to point that kind of stuff out so that people aren't surprised by it if they end up subscribing to this. But I'll leave a link to both of these down in the description of the video if you're interested in subscribing in this box. Let me know what you think of the contents down in the comments below, and as always, if you enjoyed the video, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, checking out some of my other videos. All help the channel out a ton, and I hope you have a great one. Take care.